you brought up your dad, and I wasn't trying to make the point that I thought he was weak, because maybe I thought what I was trying to say though is I was surprised that it sounded like you said that your dad was supportive of your sister engaging in sex work, which to me is surprising in the same way that it's surprising that her parents. I mean, I do think your role as a father is to protect your children. And I do think, I mean, your role as a father is to keep your son out of prison and your daughter off the stripper pole. So you can take that for sex work. Like, I do think men have a duty to try to, raise their children so they don't end up becoming either criminals or sex workers.
Yeah, I guess I did fall into the category of being a criminal in my family. I'm the only person that actually went to prison, did time, and then my sister, she does OnlyFans, but at the same time, the way I grew up with my father and me being Asian and, him coming from Laos after the war and then coming here to America, he had to learn certain things and, certain stuff like that. So it's just like he's not judgmental, and he taught me not to be judgmental towards other people. Like, if that's your perspective, that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. I have a sister that's super feminine energy. Like, she doesn't have no man. She makes like $100,000 a year. She makes like 6 figures. Right. And then I have another sister that's a sex worker, and I do have a sister that actually is on drugs right now. So my whole family's just everywhere, and so that's why for me I take in perspective of everybody's life and
but
their
I can
opinion.
tell that you're such a genuine kind-hearted person because of the way you were raised. I can tell that your parents did a wonderful job raising you.
And I only grew up with my father. I didn't grow up with my mom. My mom actually put me in foster home.
Well, he did a good job because for you to come out into the real world and not judge others and see them for who they are.
Yeah, as long as you're not coming.
A lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, as long as you're not coming into my world and being, coming into my home and my house and being like, hey, I'm gonna fuck with your man. Like, like women I feel like in the sex industry knows how to line themselves up when it comes to, these women over here that you guys want to be married and have a man, all that stuff. I feel like in the sex industry they know where that line crosses. She's not gonna hop into your crib and be like, yo, trying to take your man.
I don't think she's a threat.
Stop.
I'm saying just in a perspective.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, ultimately, even if your father does everything he can, at the individual level, he tries his best. You can still get involved in these situations. So I certainly, at the individual level, you can't fully put the blame on the parents because people can be otherwise good parents, and the kids can still end up making mistakes or getting involved in either crime or sex work. But
if a daughter goes to her father and says, I'm gonna become a sex worker or I'm a sex worker, and he doesn't make any effort to discourage that, I think that is a failure to protect his daughter from the world, and that is a natural instinct that every father should have.
I think your socioeconomic status is probably going to be more likely to determine whether or not your children are going to be sex workers.
Mike Davis donated $100. Brian, you don't gotta make this whole press conference response to F and F. All you gotta say is fuck you, capitalist country. I'm married to the money, so spoken by an expert in the field. Plus you have an edge with prettier girls, so equally as dumb and degenerate.
Yeah, no, I feel like I already addressed it, but just they're basically hypocrites. That's really all I have to say. It is what it is. So
I was just saying, I don't think it's all about values. I think what's going to end up being a more likely thing that determines it is whether or not, what your socioeconomic background is, because I don't think most sex workers have gone to college. I don't think they have higher education. They probably are less likely to have even graduated high school, and that is all stuff that's associated with people who are of more limited means. You know?
Is
the
it
wealthier
more,
you are,
is it more
the less
tempting?
likely it is.
Is it more tempting to turn to crime and to sex work if you are in a financially difficult position? I suppose.
Not just that,
but there are plenty of people who are in just as bad or worse financial positions that don't turn to crime and don't turn to sex work.
Well, what you just said really flies in the face of this narrative that sex work is empowering because you're recognizing
I never
that
said
in the
sex work
majority
was empowering. I never said
I'm
sex work was
I'm not saying
empowering.
it's your narrative. I'm just saying there is a general narrative in the discourse about sex work that it is empowering for the women who do it. But you're recognizing that the majority of the time, those sex workers are turning to it out of desperation, not because it makes them happy.
I guess the phrase like turning to it is like loaded. I'm just saying it's like just very neutrally. I think it's a lot more likely that if you're raised in an environment, like a socioeconomic environment, that you have like less money. If you're raised in poverty, you're probably not going to have higher education. That's already going to make you more likely to do it. If you have more wealth in your family, you're probably going to get an education. You're probably going to have like a white collar job. And you're way less likely to do sex work. I think it's going to have way less to do with like the personal values that are instilled